Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Fit to Print by AEG and Flat Out Games.
Fit to Print is a game in which you are running a newspaper. You are the newspaper editor. And with that, you are going to be collecting articles and photographs and ads for your newspaper and building the front page of your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday papers. And you're going to want to try to do this as fast as possible while trying to achieve certain scoring goals. The person who's able to do that the best is going to be the winner. Now let me show you how it works down below, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Fit to Print on the table. Let me show you guys how this real-time polyomino spatial awareness game is going to work, in which you are trying to be the best editor for your newspaper, building your Friday, Saturday, and then ultimately your Sunday paper, and trying to do this as quickly as possible, racing against the other players. Now, how this game, what you get with this game, you have tons of different tiles here. They're all going to be in different sizes. They're all going to be rectangles, but they will be in different sizes and they'll be oriented in different ways. And the tiles are going to come in a variety of different things. You're going to have pictures, you're going to have articles, you're going to have ads, and what you will be using these tiles for, you are going to be loading them up on your newspaper, which you've got a board here, you've got a Friday paper, which is smaller, a Saturday paper, which is a little bit bigger, and then on the back side of this, you've got a Sunday paper, which is a whole lot bigger. And each paper is going to have its own name and different look to it, but they're all going to have this kind of country rustic feel to it. You also are going to have these 3D desks that you'll be putting your tiles on top of, and that's going to be what you get with this game. Now, how a turn is going to work. There's going to be two different phases to a round. The first is going to be the research and reporting phase, which is where you're getting these tiles. You're going to be racing through these tiles, flipping one over, deciding if you want to keep it and place it on top of your desk, or if you don't want to keep it and you throw it back out into the pool. Then once you are good with the number of tiles that you've picked, you are then going to declare that you are done taking more tiles, and you're going to start putting those tiles on your paper. So in more detail, how this works, you'll decide how many minutes per round you're wanting to play. The rules suggest that if this is your first time to play, that you maybe start with 5 minutes, and if you want to increase the difficulty, you can lower that time. Now, you set a timer, and then all players are ready to go, and you hit start on the timer, and then you dig in. Now, the rule is that you can only take one tile at a time. You have to take the tile, hold it above your desk here, flip it over, see what it is, and then decide if you want to keep it, at which point you'll just put it on your desk, and then you're allowed to grab another tile, or if you decide that you don't want it, and then you throw it back into the pool face up. If you see one that's out there that's face up that another player maybe already put back, you can take that tile and immediately put it on your desk. But again, you can only take one tile at a time, and so that is part of the rules. So what are you looking at on these tiles? Well, this is an article, and as you can see, it's green, and that's going to pertain to finance, as is indicated by this icon down here. And then this particular article is a very positive article. It's got two happy faces on it, and it's going to award a number of victory points if you have it out on your newspaper. And some of the other stuff that you're going to see, like I mentioned earlier, there are pictures, and they're going to have their own scoring regimen. So this particular picture is going to give you 1 point for every purple entertainment and sports article. So for instance, this one right here is purple foraging tips for the holiday. Excuse me. And so it is pink, and that would pertain to this one. So I would get 1 point if I have this article right next to it because it's pink. But also I could have the blue one next to it. So for instance, this one could get me a point being right next to it, and I could get multiple points by having these adjacent to one another like such. Now, that's how a lot of these work. You do have ads, advertisements, and this is going to give me $1 for advertisements, and you want to make sure that you are not the person who has the fewest advertisements at the end of the game after the end of 3 rounds, because your paper will go bankrupt and you will not win the game no matter how many points you have. So you have to make sure you're getting these advertisements throughout the course of the game. Now, there are some rules about the tiles and where you can place them out on your board. Once you are you're done with getting your tiles and you declare, I don't need any more tiles, then you can start taking the ones that are on your desk here and put them out on your board, and you are not allowed to grab any more. Now, the rules for placing these tiles out on your newspaper. You have a centerpiece tile that you'll start the game with, and it's going to have its own special condition on it, such as this one says 1 point for each pair of happy face and frowny face articles above the fold. So this is the fold right here, and I want to try to get them above the fold. Now in the first round on Friday, I have to stay within this range. On Saturday, I get a little bit extra. This centerpiece tile has to touch and cover this star. So I might place it like that, or I could place it like that. Obviously, you have to cover the full square, so you cannot cover half squares like so, nor can you go off the edge. I mean, this is simple tile laying rules that you'll see in most every game. Now, some other rules with the tile placements: you cannot have two articles that are the same color. So these are two green articles touching one another. They can touch on the corners, but they cannot touch on the sides. That's a no-no. Same thing with the other colors of articles. Nor can you have ads touching one another. You can't touch on the sides, you can touch on the corners. And same thing with the pictures. You can't have two pictures touching one another on the sides. You're going to race to place out these tiles onto your paper. Any tiles that you don't use, you can leave on your desk. However, those are going to be negative points for you at the end of the round. And if at the end of the round, once you've said, I'm done, I don't want to change any more on my paper, you will grab one of these completion tokens over here. You'll grab the lowest numbered one, hopefully the 1, and then you cannot do anything to your paper from that point forward. If time runs out, or you're the last player, if you discover that maybe you made a mistake, so for instance, maybe I did accidentally place these two next to one another, I'm going to have to flip one of them over to the side that doesn't have anything on it, so that at least it still covers up space on my paper. I just can't count it for points. And that's important because you don't want to have too much white space. It's not so much about whether you have little spots of white space all over your newspaper. You just don't want one large area of white space, because whoever has the largest white space at the end of the round, they're going to get negative points. And whoever has the fewest, the smallest, largest section of white space on their paper, they're going to get bonus points at the end of the round. So you want to try to limit how big your white space is. Now, at the end of the round, you will get points for your articles, your photos, your centerpiece, and again, whoever has the lowest white space is going to get points. Whoever has the biggest white space is going to lose points. And then there's the thing about mood. So you want to make sure that your paper is evenly balanced between articles and pictures that present a happy mood as well as a negative mood. You don't want one that's more than the other. You want to try to get these as balanced as possible, because, and if this is the case, if I've got two happy faces and one frowny face, that's a difference of 1, which is -1 point. So you want to limit the difference between these two. You'll also count up your leftovers, which are going to be -1 each, and then you'll also count up your ads, because remember, whoever has the most ads, or whoever has the fewest ads at the end of the game, is going to go bankrupt and automatically lose the game. Then, after you do the first round, you'll repeat the same process. You'll flip all these tiles back over to their blank sides. You'll put all your tiles back into the pool. You will then have a number of centerpiece tiles that are going to replace your starter centerpiece tile. The player who is in first is going to be able to draft whichever one they want for themselves first. These are double-sided, by the way, and they'll have different things on each side. And then you will play the second round, and you'll repeat the same exact process. Your paper's just a little bit bigger. And after the second round, you'll repeat the third round, Sunday paper, flipping over your boards, and do the same thing all over again. Whoever has the most points after the Sunday round is going to be the winner. I do also want to show that there is an advanced variant where you do get some action cards that are going to give you some special abilities in the 3 different rounds, as well as press passes, which are going to give you a special player ability that's unique to your specific player. And that's one variant. Now, there is another variant in which you can do turn-based mode, where you are not racing in real time to draft these tiles, but each person gets a turn drafting one specific tile and then going around the board and playing a tile onto your table, on your newspaper. You are not doing that real time. You are doing that as turn-based, like I just talked about. So that's what you have here with Fit to Print. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Fit to Print from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, first thing I want to ask you about is the artwork and the look to this game, because it has a very unique artwork here. You know, it has that rustic kind of country, animalistic, you got these animal people here.
Yeah.
And it just has that kind of news reporter press kind of vibe to it. What did you think about the look of it? Ian O'Toole is the illustrator.
Yeah,
on
I
this.
thought it was great. It was a lot of fun to play around with the tiles and see the different prints that they had on them. I thought they did an excellent job of making it look like a newspaper.
Yeah. I love the look for this one. Maybe my favorite looking game of the year so far. This game right here, I don't know if you can see it, animated, is right there up there with it, just because it's Disney animated. But this being an original work, this is really top notch as far as that goes. Let me ask you about the idea of what you're trying to do with this game and the goal and the strategy, if there is kind of a strategy with this game. What was that like for you as a non-gamer?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I mean, tile laying is obviously me and Lance's top,
genre or mechanic.
Mechanic, that's the word I'm looking for. Mechanic of game, and having a rhyme or reason for that tile laying just adds a lot to it. I mean, usually there is, but it's just you are doing it to be aesthetically pleasing, and you have rules and it makes sense. Like for a newspaper, obviously you don't want the top half to all be pictures, and so it's logically it just makes sense.
Makes sense
I think
of the theme,
that helps, one, to understand the game, but two, it just makes it a little bit more exciting to put it together.
Now let me ask you, because I was curious about this and we didn't really talk about it as we were playing, but I was wondering if this was something for you, and I think the answer is no, but did you feel like maybe there were too many rules as far as this can't be next to that and you want these to be next to this?
I do think that probably in the first round I kind of forgot, I can't do that. I think you do need to be reminded, but it's one of those games where you play it once, you do start to understand it really easily, and it's a game that it goes fairly fast, and I wouldn't have minded playing it again. So I think the first time around, there does feel to be a lot of rules, but they make sense. It doesn't seem like they're just throwing rules in there to be complicated.
Right.
You just have to, remember them.
Well, yeah, and I think you're right, because it makes sense with the theme. You can't have all your ads be in one spot. You can't have your pictures right next to each other.
And then sometimes it's just not possible to follow all the rules, and that's
and then you got to
to
turn things over. Yeah. So that's one thing I was concerned with, but I'm glad to hear that you didn't really seem that was too much of an issue. For me, obviously, being a gamer, playing games, like having more things to have to think about. That's what makes the game more fun to me, because you're having to use your brain. Now, this is a different kind of... That's not what I meant.
To use your brain.
But this is a different kind of game, and you might have picked up on what I was saying there, because it doesn't seem like it requires too much strategy with this game, because it's not so much a strategy game.
Honestly, I think the hardest part of the game is making sure you get the right amount of tiles.
Yes.
I think, and that's a really unique, and it's nice because it makes the game go faster, I think, instead of games where you pick one, you place it, and then they pick one, they place it. You pick all your tiles and then you place them. And so you really do have to use your brain in that way. And I think the first round, we both did not pick enough tiles. No.
Yeah.
And it is kind of, and then you're like, okay, well, how many tiles did I pick that time? But now I have more space to fill. So how many do I add? What shapes do I need? But it was a lot of fun.
Which I love the fact that the papers change from Friday to Saturday and Saturday to Sunday, because it makes it so that you can't just be in your mind, okay, I want 13 tiles, right? Like, no, Saturday's bigger than Friday, so you're probably going to need to get more. But if you get bigger tiles, then maybe you're getting too many.
I do think as you play the game more, that part of it will become a lot easier just because you're like, oh, well, I played this before. I kind of remember.
Yeah, you'll get more skilled with it.
So, but I don't think it's something that's going to take away from the game as you play more.
Now, I do want to point out that this game is able to be played with a turn-based variant, which, as if you watched the rules portion of this video, you'll know that I covered that there. So you can play it where it's not real time, and you can play so that each person takes a turn, and then the next person takes a turn, and the next person takes a turn. We didn't play that together, but you can do that with this game, and it does definitely make it so that you're having to be more observant of what other people are doing and being aware of how far along they're coming along with their papers, because then that's going to determine, you know, where should you be with your paper, and how many tiles are you getting, and are you getting those tiles onto your paper. So it definitely does make it feel different when you're playing that turn-based mode than the chaotic real-time mode where it's just go, 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 and you're not really watching what other people are doing, and you're just really focused on getting your paper done. And I like that because it's thematic, because that's probably, I mean, if you can make being a newspaper editor into a board game, I imagine that's the feeling that they have. We've got to meet the deadline. You got to get the paper to print, you know, and I like that. So, all right, let's get to pros and cons with fit to print. So, Sam, you as a non-gamer, what stood out to you in a good way?
I mean, like I said before, I think the theme is really interesting, and I'm not one that's super into themes, but I think it fits so well. It just goes together. It's not a pasted-on theme at all. The game is the theme.
Okay.
You are creating a paper, so I think that's great. I think the artwork's amazing. I think that it's easy enough for non-gamers, but can definitely be enough for a gamer as well.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Anything about, like, as in terms of, you know, we talk a lot of times about how fast the game can play and how easy is it to wrap your head around. What about those? Are those pros for you?
Well, it sounds like we played the quicker version of it, but I thought it went really well. And obviously there's going to be times, especially the first time you're playing it, that you have questions. But I think ultimately it was a pretty self-explanatory game. You understood what you're supposed to do. And the speed, I think, is, for me at least, it's nice. I like to be able to play a game and it go pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think the speed of the game, and not just in terms of how quick is the game over, like is it a 20-minute game, is it a 30-minute game, more so in the time in terms of how much are we actually actively doing something versus having to keep up with the game and reset stuff. It feels like you're constantly doing something in this game with a little tiny bit of setup for the next round. And then it's just go, 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 kind of, you know, just fun stress, let's put it that way, because you're constantly, you know, watching, you know, how many tiles do I have, and are they the right type of tiles, and then making sure you get them onto your newspaper, and you're arranging them, and everything is just, you know, high tension with this game. I enjoy that aspect of it. Did you enjoy that, the high tension of it?
Yeah, I did. I liked that to a certain extent. I think I hit my level, but this game was definitely below my threshold.
Okay, all right. Anything about it that doesn't work too much for you?
This is extremely nitpicky, but on the first side where you go from, is it Friday?
Well, there's Friday and Saturday on the front side, and then Sunday's on the back.
The Friday and Saturday side, I wish that the Saturday, because you have Friday and then Saturday is just slightly darker. It adds, like, I think 2 rows and columns on the top and the side. I almost wish there was maybe like a large tile that you can put in that place so that you do stay within that Friday tile, because they're fairly small, not minuscule or anything like that, but I find myself going over just by one and be like, oh, that's Saturday. Again, that's nitpicky.
It's a visual thing,
It could just be me. I feel like it wasn't quite dark enough to remind me, because I was just seeing it as a whole. So you know what I mean? Like a big
I get that.
Placeholder, and then you could take it off for Saturday.
Just an overlay tile. Yeah, I know, I can understand that. I caught myself making a mistake
I
here
remember
too
thinking that while we were playing it. And that's the only real negative that I can think of when we were playing it, but that was one of them.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I don't know where I stand on this particular aspect of it. I was worried about replayability with this game, because it's just the same mechanic of constantly looking through the stack and trying to find the tiles that work for you, and then when you feel like you have enough, then you're putting them on the table and you're trying to arrange them as fast as possible. And that's kind of like a one-trick pony. I mean, it's the same cycle, you know. And so I was a little worried, will it get samey? Well, the game does come with some added elements that you can kind of make an advanced variant of to add spice to the game and make it change a little bit and give some people some actions that they can do. And you do have that centerpiece tile that changes every time you play, so that you've got a different scoring goal to it. I'm not 100% sold. I've not played every aspect of this game, so I can't speak to it, but I'm not 100% sold that it is a game that's going to constantly give me a return on wanting to come back to it time and time again after I've played it, 20 times, let's say. So I do... I had some concerns about replayability, and I don't know that those concerns are completely solved, but that's something that's going to be true for a lot of board games.
Yeah.
And for somebody who plays a lot of board games, I'd like my games to just, be something that, is, this is going to give you so much replayability, you're never going to get to the end of it.
Yeah.
I don't know that you get that with this.
I don't need that.
All right, scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where does Fit to Print come in at for you?
This is going to be pretty high. I think this might make my top 10 this year. I'd give it an 8.5.
8.5. Okay, why so high?
Tiling. If it's going to be a tiling, it's probably going to end up in my top 10. But this had such a unique aspect to it, I think. So it's tiling and organization. And that's just, I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yeah, for sure. I'm thinking this one might be in my top 10 as well. I don't have it as high as you. My score is going to be 8.2. It's a little bit lower than Sam's. And it's a lot for the same reasons. Tiling, I love tiling as well.
You don't like organization?
I like organization in my board games. But no, the theme and the look is what really kind of set this game an extra notch for me, is because it's so unique and the theme is so tied into the way the game plays that it really kind of immerses you into that news press room where you're just like, okay, we gotta put something right here. Too much white space. We gotta figure this out. And you're doing that inside your head. You're not working together with anybody. And so you're really being that newspaper editor and trying to meet the deadline with this particular one. And it's so tense from beginning to end, as is the case with a lot of real-time games. But it doesn't have the pitfall that a lot of real-time games have, where you're having to explain to somebody, wait, you can't do that. You're needing to try to do this, and because this game is pretty straightforward, and so lots to like with this particular one. So I'm an 8.2. She's an 8.5. The game is Fit to Print. It is from Flat Out Games and AEG. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.